I started watching South Park recently from the 2015 season on, and
have you seen the pandemic special?
Yeah, I saw the pandemic special. What did you think about it? My only point about watching that later season, because I'm going a few years back and up, where like all the storyline stuff came in, but their whole storyline about ad culture and gentrification and Whole Foods and shit like that, like it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, gentrification, that's a scary thing for me. That's a very real thing for me. It's something that I've like...
Tempe and Phoenix are going to get real gentrified.
Oh, well, it's already happening.
I mean, it's already happening.
I'm like, it's already happening. It's already been happening. And so, like I said, I'm from Indiana. My grandma lives in, like, downtown, but it wasn't always all downtown. But it's, like, downtown has, like, slowly become closer to her home. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, why are you here? They're, like, building apartment complexes around, like, houses that were built in the 1900s. Like, what's going on?
They're going reverse order here. We're in Tempe, in Mill Ave, where it's already downtown. They're building that fucking old folks home, and it's gonna be like the new, like, tallest building or whatever.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And I'm like, what are all these old people gonna be doing living next to Mill? What?
Spending money, I guess. I don't know. It depends. I mean, honestly,
you know what my one optimistic view of it was? Grandkids who go to ASU now can walk from class over to their grandparents' luxury old folks home.
Oh my gosh. But then it's like, no, honestly, okay, so you saying that they're building an old folks home in the middle of downtown Tempe is really alarming to me, because that means that they're going to try and move all of these old people out of their homes that they've lived in Phoenix and in different places all over the country for years, because we already know this is one big retirement state. That's what they're doing. You didn't get that part, did you? It didn't click? Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's gentrification. They are giving you new homes to live in, to make your home that you live in seem like ridiculous. They're gonna deck it out with all kinds of amenities and stuff that they don't need.
You solved the riddle.
And then they're gonna overprice it, and you're gonna be homeless old people.
So hold up.
That sold their houses.
Everybody who I've spoken to about this, we always get confused, and that's where the conversation ends. So you're telling me they're like, okay, Arizona's this old folks state,
Mecca.
So if we try to gentrify and get these people out of their houses, where do we put them? Oh, I know. We'll just build them an old folks home where they can go.
Yeah. Especially right now, while
God damn.
Arizona is slowly but surely turning into California Junior. So it's like,
for sure.
Right, but it's like, okay, right now they're wanting to focus and bring more people in that are associated with technology, people that are associated with media, music, YouTube.
The music scene here
is crazy.
Is just
crazy
a wealth of untapped potential.
But it's like, the way, like, Arizona is like low key on the verge of like getting put on the map in a way that we haven't been in a very long time. But that's because like it's such a culture of like, I don't know. I feel like we're kind of like a melting pot, but it's like a different type of melting pot, because like New York, it's like everybody's separated, but here it's like we've just been stuck in this bowl in the valley.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing about Arizona is like you can go a few hours in any direction and wind up in the woods, Mexico, California, or Las Vegas. It's relatively cheap to live here, and we are close enough to all these other cool kid states and places that we kind of have most of the things that they have besides good weather and a beach.
And legal weed, which we will have soon.
So in terms of there being like good culture here and cool people and talented people and like incentives to like, it's honestly like a fun place. The majority of people who are in Arizona and complain about Arizona are younger people that just haven't learned to appreciate it yet.
Oh dude, I can tell you for a fact, after leaving and coming back, I am so grateful for Arizona.
It's a great place.
It is. It's an amazing place, but like when it comes to like the gentrification, it's like, dude, we're already becoming slowly but surely overpopulated, and the goal right now is to centralize everyone so that they can capitalize on the land that's like no longer going to be utilized. They're going to tear people's old houses down and build in mansions and housing that people can't afford in places that they've wanted to rebuild for years.
Yeah.
And that's what gentrification is. But it's like, we have to be conscious enough to be like, hey, y'all probably shouldn't put this gigantic old folks home in the middle of downtown. That's probably not safe. Like,
something I don't fully understand about city development is I don't know how much that is just first call, first serve, like the person Because, for instance, it's like, what, like, isn't it kind of inevitable to, in a sense? Like, I'm not saying it's good, but, like, just with the way economics work and people who have money make big money moves, it's like, how much is it the city's fault and how much is it just, hey, there's this patch of land here and somebody wealthy enough to build such an old folks home decided to do so?
I think it comes back to the education aspect. If more people were conscious of, like, what
I don't know what goes into building.
No, okay, so, like, that's what I'm saying. You don't know. It's not talked about, but there are people that it's literally their job and they focus on this, like the controlling and the sectioning of people and the rationing of wealth. Think about, okay, so for example, school districts. We went to Marcos, the actual like district itself in Tempe Union District. It's separated very specifically. If you take notice in different precedents or the different type of people that are associated with the different types of schools, it's all ironically and just so weirdly separated into a way that certain people with certain amount of income are in a certain area and expected to go to a certain school. That's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
They are putting the person's home to change some sort of demographic, and not necessarily that's the intention, but it is the intention, because you can't just put they're placed intentionally, like you just said.
I've said this before on different podcasts, but it's just like in downtown Tempe, I just find that there's like this burning desire from young people to have more cultural spots, whether it's skate parks or places to have like local concerts or just places to meet each other that isn't just the bars on Mill or ASU based clubs. But in terms of like public parks or cool young people venues that aren't, just bars,
right,
there isn't really a whole lot of that, and it's really kind of forced us all to create those spaces ourselves, whether or not it was the Sunroom venue or things like that. And any time there's like an empty patch of dirt, it winds up getting filled by a Taco Bell, a CVS, or some like upper middle class like luxury apartment housing that are pretty low quality, but they have marble countertops. So then people spend $1,300 a month on the rent, which is crazy.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, okay, on University right now, there's that like luxury Whole Foods with some luxury apartments on top of the Whole Foods on University now. And when I look at that, I'm like, well, if that land was there and Whole Foods wanted to take it, I don't really know if that's anyone's fault so much as it's inevitable. However, if we could have a space that looks like that, but then you go inside and it's like all these local farmers like selling their stuff, that sounds like a better economy, better for the environment. It would be better for people's meeting each other and community outreach, because Arizona is very much so like a garage culture where you leave your house, you go to where you need to go, and then you come back. And I think that's based on, one, our weather isn't good, so you're trying to just go to and from places. But then two, there just isn't a lot of spaces that incentivizes like talking to the person next to you. So
absolutely.
So people kind of avoid eye contact here. You don't really talk to each other in public spaces, and it's not really like that in other places like New York, for instance, or like I imagine like even Atlanta, probably people are like talking like a lot more. So
it's definitely different. I can confirm that from like my traveling for sure. But it's like the things that for me, like when you having these like thoughts of like the different things that go into it, it's the fact that for me, I've been in all of these different places and I've seen this happen like before, or you see it happening everywhere. So it's like if we had I say that it's like zoned intentionally, the same way you're like, okay, well, what if a bunch of farmers like communed and we're like, we're gonna buy this place and then we're gonna sell our food here?
Yeah,
it would be ideal. However, realistically, because of the way that funds are allocated, it's not a realistic thing. It's a lot easier for Whole Foods to be like, hey.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
blob of land.
Are these negative realities just inevitable? Like, are they even fixable? Like, is being informed on these things even?
I believe.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I totally believe that in order for us to like resolve or actually make these changes or adjust the reality of the situation, we would have to socialize and we would have to commune. We would have to discuss things that we don't necessarily want to. But most of us are walking around. Well, not walking around. We have our heads in the sand. We're not consciously putting the pieces together of like, wow, they're building this apartment complex. I wonder why they're building that. They're building it. If you like, when you say that to me, that literally, there are so many thoughts that were triggered in my mind. Like, okay, they're gonna put a 55 and up plus, like a 55 plus apartment building in the middle of downtown Tempe, which is one of the most urban areas in the state of Arizona, with the largest population of youth. That to me means, like, the way I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, well, they're trying to sway the way that the county votes. They're trying to sway the way that things are done. It's deeper than, so like for me, it's important, like when it comes to education, it's like, I didn't learn that until after the fact that, oh, our schools were zoned on purpose. Like I didn't get that until I did. And then when I did, I'm like, okay, this is all for economic gain. There's a reason behind everything. None of it is an accident, especially when it comes to like companies and corporations like starting new businesses and in new areas or relocating into new places. It definitely has a difference. Like, it makes a difference. There's a reason for it all. Yeah. And it's not without accident, but it's about whether or not, as a community, the community catches on in time enough to make a change.
So what does that look like? What does that mean?
The community has to socialize. You have to, okay, this is what we've got going on. Hey,
people
this area,
put up money to like create more of these spaces, and
I believe that if more people,
we're describing the game Monopoly, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
You got to buy the boardwalk to make sure the boardwalk doesn't get bought by some.
Exactly. And so the thing is that more people have to invest with each other in order to do that. And we're in such a world where it's like, I got to one up that guy, or we're competing. I'm like the type, like right now I have the idea of like, I would love to open a salon. And I have friends that know how to do nails. I have friends that know how to do hair. Turn it into a spa. There you go, a boutique. But instead of that, most people are like, I got to do this by myself. I want my own. And it's...
Yeah. When see, like, and that's another reason why I think like universal basic income would be huge, because you would have a lot more people pulling resources that they know they're going to have to kind of like make more noble things happen, like the arts or building a new business or this or that. And I know sometimes like Yang was like questioned on like, well, what about inflation? He gave a pretty like good answer of why he thinks like inflation wouldn't necessarily come with UBI, and even if it did, like it might be like not high enough to really like
impact.
Like in other words, like if your landlord is like, hey, your rent is now 1,000 higher, you'd be like, the fuck are you talking about? It is.
Why not, dude?
You know, and then you would just have to find the first guy to not be cranking the rent by 1,000, and then just go with them. But I remember one answer he gave was like, oh well, like more young people could like pull their money together and like kind of find like a fixer upper and like make a place. And that answer was always a little bit confusing, but like thinking in these terms, in terms of like, yeah, like just there's like all these patches of dirt lying around in Tempe and Phoenix, and if you got more people kind of pulling together to like make like a salon or just like build a house or whatever it is, instead of just throwing their money at like rent where you don't get equity back. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
I have a group of friends that pulled together and started the Phoenix Urban Arts Festival, which prior to COVID was something that they like was a collective of just several young entrepreneurs within the valley that were like, hey, we got something, we can do a thing and make this like come together and all be able to benefit from it, and also benefit the community by gaining exposure and also giving people something to do.
What do you think about this idea? I've floated this before. What if the Tempe Festival for the Arts on Mill, or like downtown Phoenix's First Friday events, what if those style events were once a week? Instead of, because the Tempe Festival for the Arts is like 2 times a year or something like that. But what it looks like is on Mill, there's just food trucks and then tents of people selling their artwork, whether or not it's wood carvings or paintings or sculpture.
That's what my friends did with the Phoenix Urban Arts Festival.
Something I was thinking is, okay, people probably have to pay a certain permit fee to get those tents and those food carts there. But so if it was like once a week, you could argue that some people would create a monopoly by being there every week, but you could also make the argument like, well, if the price was like high enough to have a tent to where it incentivizes you to do it every now and again, but not like create a monopoly and be there all the time, there's more than enough local businesses and artists to kind of change that out. Like there's no shortage of people to fill something like that on a 52-week basis. And that would also probably supercharge the economy of people like walking around Mill and going inside of those shops that are just already there, not getting enough business probably. Like there would probably be a fuck ton of foot traffic to like Sparky's Ice Cream or Mellow Mushroom if they're already there on Mill for this other shit. Mm-hmm. And then these other businesses, they would just have like a more reliant expectation of like, oh, like I have an option to do this 4 times a month if I need to.
That's where the sense of like community comes in, as far as like you would have to get the community to know, like be like, hey, would you guys be down to do a thing? Like, if
the only downside I can possibly see is fucking up the traffic, and that area of the city already has pretty
traffic is
it's already pretty fucked up. So we would just have to figure out a way to like route people away from going down Mill, but that doesn't seem that hard to me.
They close Mill a lot.
They already close it themselves right now to do all this construction for shit we don't really need.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like it wouldn't even be that different.
I feel like if people of our generation, because I'm not even going to hold it to people of the past, because most of them are either very set in what they're doing. But as far as like right now, I feel like we're in a very critical time as far as like our generation and even the generation below us, where it seems to me like there are a lot of people that have ideas and have entrepreneurial intentions as far as like ways that they can contribute to their community, but also, you know, still be a regular member of society. And if more people, I think, were able to come together and do something like my friends did with the Phoenix Urban Arts Festival, and just kind of be like, hey, we want to come together and we're going to give ourselves some exposure. We're going to network with each other, and we're going to help lift each other up to make sure that we are all like kind of giving each other a platform. It would be so much easier for us to actually like minimize the giant corporations, because we'd be able to gain access, or, you know, be aware of what's available to us in the community, rather than just like, I'm gonna go to Walmart. Like,
yeah, I don't go to that Whole Foods. And I'm not saying like going to Fry's is much better, but like I'm just like, Bezos already gets my camera equipment money. He doesn't need my grocery money. I can like give that to Kroger or whatever.
No, but it's
but there is like a farmer's market like across the street from the Whole Foods, and like I go there a little bit, not enough. But
it's like those things would make all the difference. And it's like, but it's aside from that, if they like the farmers market, or the farmers that go to the farmers market had more places that they could take the things that they have, then it'd be a lot easier for us to just generically go to that guy or the people that we can probably name by name. Then, you know,
the way you spend your money is kind of like a form of voting. Like you're kind of you're literally putting your money on like what you are investing.
Every time you spend money, you're investing into something or someone, whether you are doing it directly or indirectly. If you are going out of your way to spend any money on anything, you are investing.
Like there's a little market around here called Rollins Market, and like some of their snacks are like slightly overpriced. Like maybe you'll get a bag of chips and it's like $1 more than you expect. But I like feel way better going to this like family owned place that's been there for 35 years than like getting a bag of chips from Circle K, you know?
If more people, so it's funny that because like with corporations, there's come this like gigantic industry of customer service, which I find really hilarious. I've spent a great deal working in customer service, which is, anyway, in working in customer service or in customer service existing, it's ironic to me because it's like, wow, if we all went through like local businesses or through individuals, then it wouldn't necessarily be a big like business of just customer service. There are people that literally outsource people getting service from their company. Like, what? You had a bad experience with a company and you're not even talking to that company about that bad experience. I would much rather be able to go into like my local wherever and be like, hey, I was talking to so and they helped me, and is there any way y'all can tell me where this is, or, you know, things like that. And there's a different sense of like community or welcoming or service or just even like experience. It's a totally different experience when you go into those places versus going into Walmart and going like you're treated with a different level of courtesy, and there's a different experience in
and
it.
Also just friendliness, because even if there's like some like, let's say there's like some cute girl at Sprouts, that there is, I don't even feel and like I get along with her decently, I don't even feel super comfortable like talking to her too long, because I know that she's under this surveillance of like you just said, like customer experience culture, because this is like a big branded grocery store.
Right.
But if I'm at like Cartel Coffee and there's like some like, you know, it's like you're probably going to be able to have like more of a I don't know, it's just
more rapport and more like people are more comfortable. It's a more natural setting rather than anytime I go into like Walmart or Target, I feel like I'm talking to robots. I'm like, are y'all real people in there?
Because when I worked at Starbucks, like, and I was at the drive-through window, there were times when the customer was like angry with me, and my manager would be like, talk with them. And I'd be like, and I'll try to explain, they don't want me to talk to them right now. And she's like, well, their drink is taking a little bit long, so why don't you just fill the time by making conversation? And I'm like, I'm telling you,
this isn't that environment. And that's what people, it's
all like
because,
rule book
like,
following.
But companies are trying to integrate like a direct personal service, like make you feel comfortable or make you like feel like you're at a mom and pop spot, but you're definitely not. Like, you know, there's just so many things that are removed from like the actual personal interaction versus the corporation interaction, or the online interaction. And honestly, interaction itself is just like kind of like a dying thing because of the world.